where we explore the legacy of coins that have shaped nations and inspired collectors for generations. Today, we take a deep journey into the history, design, significance, and value of the 1961 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin that continues to capture the interest of numismatists and history lovers alike. From its political context to minting techniques, hidden varieties, and collector appeal, this coin tells a story far deeper than its face value suggests. The 1961 Jefferson nickel was part of a coin series that began in 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel, which had circulated from 1913 to 1938. The Jefferson design was chosen through a competition organized by the United States Mint, and the winning artist was Felix Schlag. Schlag's design featured a left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse, while the reverse showcased a depiction of Jefferson's home Monticello, a neoclassical structure located in Virginia. The original design remained relatively unchanged through the years, with only slight modifications introduced for clarity or minting improvements. By 1961, the United States was in a dynamic period of its history. The Cold War was at its peak. John F. Kennedy had just taken office, and the nation was shifting socially and economically. This atmosphere of change formed the background to the coins minted that year, including the Jefferson nickel, struck primarily at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small d mint mark on the reverse. The 1961 D. Jefferson nickel is of particular interest to collectors because of its mintage volume, striking quality, and several die variations. Over 229 million Jefferson nickels were struck at the Denver Mint in 1961, making it one of the higher mintage years in the series. Although this volume suggests the coin is relatively common in circulated condition, uncirculated examples, especially those in Ms. 65 and above, are harder to find due to weaknesses in the strike and poor planchet quality. These minting inconsistencies are what make high-grade examples significantly more valuable among collectors. The Jefferson nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a durable silvery appearance. Although the coin contains no silver, its composition makes it resistant to wear and ideal for everyday transactions. Its diameter is 21.2 mm with a weight of 5 grams and a plain edge. The metal composition and specifications remained consistent throughout most of the series until the wartime nickels of 1942 to 1945, when silver was temporarily introduced due to metal shortages. Collectors who pursue the 1961 Jefferson nickel often pay close attention to strike quality. Full steps is a designation given by grading agencies such as PCGs and NGC to coins that display complete and uninterrupted steps on the Monticello building on the reverse. This detail is notoriously difficult to find on many dates in the Jefferson series, especially the 1961 D, which is well known for weak strikes and worn dies. Therefore, 1961 D Jefferson nickels with full steps command a premium in the collector market and can fetch significantly higher prices depending on condition. The Jefferson nickel series is also popular among error collectors, and the 1961 D coin is no exception. Some known varieties include die cracks, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes. There are even examples of coins with double die obverses or reverses. Though these are rare, any such variety can dramatically increase the value of an otherwise common coin, making the 1961 Jefferson nickel a rewarding hunt for sharp-eyed collectors. Beyond technical details, this coin represents a broader piece of American history. The early 1960s were a time of technological innovation. Civil rights movements and political transformation. Coins from this period carry with them a sense of being witness to change and continuity. The Jefferson nickel itself stands as a symbol of American values of liberty, democracy, and architectural beauty, embodied in both its subject and design. The legacy of the Jefferson nickel series continued until 2004, when the Westward Journey series temporarily replaced it to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Still, the original Schlag design returned briefly before being permanently modified in 2006 to include a new forward-facing Jefferson portrait. The 1961 Jefferson nickel therefore remains one of the many chapters in the long and evolving story of American coinage, reflecting mid-century design sensibilities and minting practices. As a collector, you might encounter the 1961 D. Jefferson nickel in circulation, coin shops, or estate collections. While circulated examples hold minimal monetary value, they offer historical value and a tangible connection to the past. On the other hand, coins preserved in original rolls or found in mint state condition can be worth considerably more, especially when certified by top grading agencies. Grading plays a vital role in determining the market value of this coin. A 1961 D. Jefferson nickel in average circulated condition may be worth just face value, or slightly above, but coins graded Ms. 65 or higher can range from tens to hundreds of dollars depending on visual appeal and strike quality. The presence of full steps can easily double or triple a coin's value, making detailed examination under magnification an essential part of evaluating your collection. For those interested in completing a full Jefferson nickel set, the 1961 D remains an accessible yet challenging date due to the need for high-quality examples to complete registry sets. In fact, many collectors enjoy the thrill of upgrading their Jefferson collections over time as they come across better struck or more visually appealing coins. In closing, the 1961 Jefferson nickel is more than just a 5-cent piece. It is a compact artifact of American heritage representing political vision, artistic skill, and industrial precision. Welcome back to LC Coins World, where history is alive in the coins we carry in our hands. Today, we take you on a journey deep into the heart of a coin you may have once spent without a second thought, but now it holds layers of history and meaning that most collectors overlook. Get ready to explore the fascinating life of the 1973 Jefferson nickel. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone who remembers using these coins daily, this episode will open your eyes to the hidden value and rich legacy behind one of America's most underappreciated coins. So sit back, relax, and let's go back in time with the 1973 Jefferson nickel. The story of the 1973 Jefferson nickel begins long before the coin was minted. To understand it fully, we must first understand the man it honors: Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was not only the third president of the United States, he was also the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and a visionary whose influence on American democracy still echoes today. His image was chosen to appear on the nickel beginning in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel which had been in circulation since 1913. In 1938, a national design competition was held by the United States Mint to find a new image for the 5-cent coin. Artist Felix Schlag won the competition with a left-facing portrait of Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home, on the reverse. Schlag's design would become one of the longest-running designs in US coin history, remaining largely unchanged until 2004, and that includes the 1973 version, which carries this same iconic imagery. The year 1973 was an important moment in American history. The nation was going through significant political tension with the Watergate scandal building momentum. Vietnam was still in the headlines. The oil crisis was looming, and the economy was dealing with both inflation and unemployment. In the middle of all this uncertainty, Americans went about their daily lives using coins like the Jefferson nickel for everyday purchases: sodas, newspapers, postage, and more. It's easy to forget that in your pocket during those turbulent times, there might have been a coin silently passing through history. The 1973 Jefferson nickel was minted at two major locations, Philadelphia and Denver. The Philadelphia mint coins do not have a mint mark, while the Denver coins carry the small D mark. there were no nickels minted in San Francisco that year for general circulation, but there were special proof coins produced for collectors with an S mint mark. These proof coins were struck on polished dies, using specially prepared planchets, and have a brilliant mirror-like finish. In total, over 384 million Jefferson nickels were minted in 1973, including both Philadelphia and Denver strikes. That means the coin is not rare in terms of mintage volume. However, the real story lies in the details: coin condition, minting errors, and historical context. Collectors seek out coins in mint state condition, especially those graded Ms. 65 and above by professional grading services. Finding a 1973 Jefferson nickel with full steps on Monticello on the reverse side is a key sign of a strong strike and brings premium value. Full steps mean that all 6 steps on the building are visible without interruption, which is relatively rare and can significantly boost a coin's value. Minting errors are another fascinating aspect of the 1973 Jefferson nickel. Some examples include off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, and die cracks. These errors turn ordinary coins into rare collector's items. For instance, a 1973D nickel with an off-center strike of more than 10% can fetch several times its face value. A doubled die obverse showing doubling in Jefferson's I or lettering would be even more valuable depending on the severity and visibility of the error. Now, let's talk about composition. Like most nickels from the mid-20th century, the 1973 Jefferson nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs 5 grams and has a diameter of 21.2 millimeters. There is no silver content in this coin, although sometimes collectors confuse older nickels with wartime nickels from 1942 to 1945, which did contain silver. The 1973 nickel was purely a base metal coin, made for everyday transactions. As we go deeper into this coin story, we must acknowledge its place in culture. For many people, the Jefferson nickel was the first coin they handled as children. It was given in change at local diners and soda fountains. It was saved in piggy banks and coin jars across America. It's a coin that lived quietly in pockets and purses across the country, but also in the background of some of America's most defining moments. The simplicity of the design, the consistency of the strike, and the value it held for so long made it a true part of American life. Coin collecting surged in popularity in the 1970s and 1980 seconds, which means many 1973 nickels were pulled from circulation and stored in albums. Today, it's not unusual to find circulated versions of the coin with visible wear. However, finding one in pristine, uncirculated condition is a different story. The passage of time, natural wear, and mass circulation have made high-quality examples harder to find, making them more appealing to collectors now than ever. Let's not forget about the Jefferson nickel's role in the broader narrative of U.S. coinage. It represents the bridge between traditional coin designs and modern coinage changes that would begin just a few years later. By 2004, the Jefferson nickel underwent major design updates, including a new obverse portrait and different reverse scenes to honor the Lewis and Clark expedition, but the 1973 version remains a strong example of the classic look of mid-century American coinage. And if you're wondering whether your 1973 Jefferson nickel is worth anything more than 5 cents, here's the reality. Most circulated versions are worth face value or slightly more, but uncirculated coins, especially those with full steps, can be worth anywhere from $5 to over $100, depending on condition and rarity. Error coins, as we discussed earlier, can be worth even more. As you hold this coin, or look for it in your change, remember that you're holding a small yet powerful piece of American history. The 1973 Jefferson nickel may seem simple, but it reflects a nation navigating change, holding on to tradition, and preparing for a new era. It is a coin of the people, a coin of memory and a coin that still holds value both financially and historically. So whether you're a lifelong collector or just now realizing the stories behind the coins in your drawer, the 1973 Jefferson nickel is worth a second look. It's more than metal, it's memory preserved in copper and nickel.
Today, we take a deep dive into the history and value of a humble, yet fascinating piece of American coinage, the 1977 Lincoln penny. This coin might seem like just another cent at first glance, but when you look deeper, it carries with it decades of history, economic transition, design evolution, minting practices, and collector significance. To truly appreciate the 1977 penny, we begin by stepping back into the social and economic atmosphere of the late 1970s. America was still adjusting to post-Vietnam realities. The Watergate scandal had left its mark, inflation was becoming a growing concern, and industries were shifting in ways that would define the next decade. Amid all of this, the Denver Mint struck millions of these copper pennies featuring the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to commemorate Lincoln's 100th birthday. The portrait remained unchanged even in 1977 because it had become iconic to generations of Americans. The reverse still carried the Lincoln Memorial, which was introduced in 1959, replacing the original wheat ears. The memorial design added a small yet meaningful detail. If you look closely with magnification, you can actually see a tiny depiction of the Lincoln statue between the columns. The composition of the 1977 penny was primarily copper with a small amount of zinc, and unlike later years where the composition shifted to mostly zinc, due to rising copper prices, the 1977 retains its classic feel and sound when dropped on a surface. Millions of these pennies were struck, but as with any coinage, some carry unique stories in the form of errors, varieties, and high-grade examples. Collectors have reported examples with doubling, especially around the date and mint mark, as well as weak strikes, off-center impressions, and in rare cases, planchet errors. One of the most sought-after traits in the 1977 penny is a high-grade mint state. Example with full original luster and little to no contact marks. Grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified MS66 and higher examples, which can bring significant value, especially in registry sets. For context, most 1977 pennies in circulation are only worth face value unless they are in pristine condition or display errors. However, even common coins can become collectible based on condition, rarity, and demand among numismatists. Now let's turn our attention to the production process. The Denver Mint was equipped with high-speed coin presses that could strike hundreds of coins per minute, yet even then human oversight and quality control played a critical role in catching defects. Sometimes these flaws slip through the system, and these are the ones that often intrigue collectors the most. Whether it's a die clash, a double die, or a clipped planchet, each variation becomes a story frozen in metal. Beyond the minting mechanics, there is also the cultural and historical context of using the penny in 1977. Back then, a penny still had real purchasing power. You could buy a piece of candy, a stamp, or contribute to a parking meter with a handful of cents. The emotional value of these coins, especially for those who grew up in the 70s, is immense. They were a part of everyday life, slipped into lunch money payments, phone booth calls, and change from grocery stores. They carry fingerprints of a time when analog was king and every penny counted. For older Americans, the 1977 penny is a small-time capsule. It brings back memories of youth, jobs, cars, song, school, and simpler times. For younger collectors, it is an entry point into a world of discovery and appreciation for things often overlooked. Coin dealers and auction houses occasionally list 1977 Lincoln cents in high-grade slabs, and their prices can vary. What makes one penny worth thousands and another? Just 1 cent comes down to condition, provenance, rarity, and buyer interest. And while it may never reach the fame of the 1909 SVDB or the 1955 double die, the 1977 still commands respect in the community for its role in a transitional era. So whether you have one in a drawer, a jar, or a coin folder, it's worth examining. Check for that bright red uncirculated shine or an unusual marking, and who knows, you might be holding on to a small fortune. As we wrap this journey into the 1977 Lincoln penny, remember that coins are more than just currency. They're storytellers, metal witnesses to history, and tokens of personal and national identity. Stay tuned on LC Coins World for more long-form explorations into the fascinating world of rare and historic coins. And as always, keep your eyes open, your change close, and your curiosity alive.